Hi guys, CJ's here and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I would like to share some really useful tips for vibe coding. So in the last couple of years, I've been doing vibe coding almost every single day, and I've learned some tricks, some tips, and in terms of like communicating with large language models for higher and better quality of code. So yeah, now let's get started. So first tips is right here. Refine your prompt before sending to the large language models. So this one is really important. So when I just start doing the vibe coding, I just use the very simple like a prompt like this, create a user login endpoint in Django, and I send it to, let's say, OpenAI or other language models. But the thing is that because the prompt you see here is very vague, I don't have that many like details, what kind of like specific. So it works, but you have to, fine tune a lot. You have to modify. You have to like refactor the code a lot, and also usually they're not very comprehensive. So, for this refining your prompt, I created this tool. Let me give you an example. So in this tool is CodifyMate, and mainly do two things. First, you could create your own templates. Let's see here. I have my own templates right here for the backend like this. So let's create also a user endpoint, also like a post, will be post, and we'll just keep it simple. Okay, create for user login in Django. I emphasize the Django part, and users login. So you could create it here and no use case. Now, yeah, pretty much like this. We could start from scratch or we could choose existing code, but for this, just keep it simple. So for this tool, you could save your own templates, or you create your own templates, and it will refine this tool will refine your prompt. So do you see here on the left side? It's a template I just used for myself. You could also create your own, and here they transform this into a very detailed. Do you see guys here? The other requirement, objective, implementation details, data flow, error handling. So yeah, you see how here it's like very even emphasize everything right here. So what I need to do next, and also they will give me some feedback. Say, okay, what kind of like information I could give them more, even make the prompt even more comprehensive. So I'm pretty happy about the refined prompt. So I just copy the prompt here and I go back to ChatGPT and I just copy it here. You see, this versus the previous one is much better. So now, because I write this very, I got this very detailed prompt. So the code from the ChatGPT, you can see it's much more, I would say, precise and accurate. So yeah, that's our and because, by the way, because we write this very detailed prompt, usually it takes way less iterations, like modifications through from the large language models. So in other words, back to our this diagram, the better your prompt is, the higher quality the code you got from the large language models. Yeah. And so now let's go to our second tips. The second tips actually is very, I think you guys you're also doing that, is that when ChatGPT is not working or somehow just not like generating the code I want, I just try different models. To me, my favorite two models, that will be ChatGPT and 4.0 at this moment, and also another one will be Claude and Sonnet 3.7. Which one is this one? So for example, I could also copy the prompt here. I just try different models. Yeah, like this. Oh, but you get the point. I'm a free account, so out of like usage, but you get the point. Try, if the one model is not working, try another model. So now let's go to the third tips right here. So sometimes you might use the Copilot or some any ADE tools within your VS Code, but that's not working. Sometimes it's not working. You just copy the code under the air, and also like we just did, you copy the code and drop into the website. Instead of like use the ADE tool in your VS Code, you just do. Then sometimes, just for some reason, sometimes it just works. Like to me personally, when I'm writing the code, I see an error in my, like, let's say React, the front end. I see some error, and I try to fix it with Copilot by GitHub, but just not working. Just like going to a loop is not working very well. And I will copy the code, the code of the file and also the error into this, ChatGPT or whatever other model you use, and actually it will solve the problem. Yeah, so if you next time stack in your ADE tools, definitely try it out, these tips. And next one is use the gate and the version control. So why we use that? Because sometimes when we modify the code or add some feature, and you want to try, even your experiment is some like some creative feature stuff, and it might not work. It might work, but if you do not use the version control, which means you might really miss out the code base, existing code base. So what I'm gonna do, you always make sure I type the gate status. I make sure my current like gate is clear. I already saved this point, everything previous I worked on, it's already saved. So which means I tried a couple days or couple hours. If this is not working, I just roll back. I just the get reset hard and just like remove all the code I work after at a save point. Yeah. So last but not least, the last tip, that will be refactor your code base regularly. I think the separation is the key to keep your code base clean and also maintainable and also scalable. Because like you see here, when we give too much code to the large language models, sometimes they just confuse. It's just like they're just not. When we give a lot of code base, a lot of files to the large language models, sometimes they don't give us the best, the most precise result, the code from them. So what I've learned is that always break down your large files into a smaller files. And let's say you want to twist some, add or modify a little bit feature, you just send the large language models the very specific, like a related files and relevant files. I'm sorry about that. Relevant files. So because of that, and if there's something go wrong, it will not impact your the bigger project. And also because you use the gate version, so you can always roll back, right? And yeah, that will be today the 5 tips about vibe coding I shared with you. And I would also like to hear what's your tips or tricks or sort of like experience you've learned from vibe coding. Feel free to share in the comment description. And by the way, if you're interested in using the prompt engineering tool, the CodifyMate, you could send me an email, because currently this tool is invite only. You can see here, it's invitation only. So you could go to the about page, email me, or I will also make sure and include the link and my email address in the description in this video. So if you're interested or try this out, you just email me. I will give you an invite code. Okay. So yeah, that will be today's video, and vibe coding and happy coding.